Namaskar. In this edition of Right Angle, I would like to discuss what is happening in Manipur these days, but not the things that you have already heard or you must be reading regularly in the papers. I just want to highlight the voices coming from certain sections, and when I am talking certain sections, means certain very powerful quarters from Europe, and these people are so concerned about what is happening in Manipur. Really surprises me for more reasons than one. As you know, when our Prime Minister had visited France last week, the European Parliament, the members, they talked about the exploitation and the way things are being handled, the blatant violations of human rights in Manipur. Yesterday, I think the European Parliament passed a formal resolution, and if my memory serves me right, yesterday also in the British Parliament, one of their so-called ministers or some members of Parliament, I'm not exactly remembering, who is in charge of spreading the cause of what they call it, religious freedom all over the world, was absolutely aghast at the way India and the Indian government under Modi and the state government under the BJP there in Manipur are handling the issues. And predictably, the government of India has reacted by saying this is not done. This is strict interference in our internal matters, and also predictably, what has happened is that some Indian so-called liberals and seculars are saying, like the Western countries or any international force or organization has got every right to talk of the violation of religious freedom and or rather the curtailment of democratic or human rights, because we in India do also condemn the incidents that happen to the people there in, say, America or Britain, or for that matter in Australia, the so-called racial attacks. I think this is absolutely, in my opinion, a very inapt comparison, in the sense that India is reacting because the Indians or people of Indian origin living in those countries get affected by these attacks, whether it is there temples, whether even in their workplaces, and you must be knowing even in our diplomatic missions are also coming under increased attacks. So obviously India has to be concerned and to give some reactions, and will be taking the issues diplomatically, because as I said here, the Indians or the people of Indian origin do get affected. But is this the same situation when the European Parliament or the British Parliament does interfere and they give these comments? Are these people in Manipur, they are citizens of India or they are citizens of Europe? Are they citizens of Britain? Are they citizens of France? Are they citizens of Germany? They are, Manipur, they are the proud Indians. Yes, we have got some problem. We will be taking care of that. There is a problem. In a democracy, there are no problems, and the problem has to be sorted out, democratically. But who have given you right to come and comment on the status of or the fate of the Manipuris? Do we comment? And what moral right also you have to talk of the suppression of the minorities when in your own thing? I think that is my question to the European parliamentarians. What is happening in Hungary? What is happening in Netherlands? What is happening, say, even in Switzerland? What is happening also, Denmark, that it was supposed to join NATO and Turkey the way they have made an issue, or Sweden? Or what is happening in France? Or even for that matter, what is happening in Britain? We say that these countries are facing a phenomenon of the dissatisfaction from the immigrants who have immigrated from, say, Africa and West Asia, and they are finding it difficult to get adjusted to their lifestyle, their democratic ethos, and there are obvious problems. It is happening in Europe, and obviously it is creating reactions. But do we say this is a very genuine problem? This is a complicated problem. I mean, these countries are afflicted with. But does one say that look, the Muslims are being butchered, the Muslims are being suppressed in these European countries because 90% of these immigrants who are creating this problem, they are in Europe or in various countries there, happen to be Muslims. That they demand Sharia, that they demand this thing, as I said, they have not been economically observed, politically observed, that's a different matter. But do we say that thing, do we see that problem in this religious terms? Then what right you have to see the things what is happening in Manipur in those terms? And what you are saying, what precisely is the matter? Like yesterday in the European Parliament, the cat was out of bag, if I may use that French. What did they say? That look, the Christians are being very badly affected there in Manipur. You see, the Manipur problem, as far as India is concerned, is a very sensitive issue. There are tribals, and these Kuki tribes and the other Naga tribes. Manipur, as it is a state whose population is around, if I go by last census figure, it is around 28 or 29 lakhs. I think it must not be more than our Karol Bagh or Chandni Chowk's population here in Delhi. But the point there is this: the state is such, its geography is such that these tribes, whether they are the Kuki tribes or the Naga tribes, they constitute, I think, around 25 to 30% of the state's population. But the territory of Manipur, whether it is hills and jungles, that is under their control, and that is guaranteed under our constitution or by some Indian laws. And the majority of the people, who constitute nearly 60% of the population, they are confined to the valley, Imphal valley. And obviously, as things have gone up and your demographic changes have been made, population has increased, it is natural that this broad division is creating fissures there, because the majority, that Meiteis who are in the plains or that valley, they find that they are not getting proper justice there, because they constitute the majority but they are denied reservation. They cannot move out and buy property in the hills, etc., which are under the control of these tribes. So this is something. This problem did not arise all of a sudden. This problem has been there, and in fact, not many people realize. In 2013, when the Congress government was there, both in Manipur as well as here in the center, here in the India, they were the ones who said that Meiteis, they deserve some justice, and something needs to be done. And that is precisely what happened 3 or 4 months back. The Manipur High Court also suggested that he asked the government to do something for these Meiteis and their grievances. And that created the reaction, and all of a sudden these things come up, and that have really spread and has gone beyond control. And there also are other factors like that is the porous border, illegal immigration takes place. The tribe from other side, Myanmar and Bangladesh also do come. And then another great problem is there, that of drugs. So and these drugs, illegal cultivation. So my point is this is a very complicated issue. You cannot take the government there in Manipur to task by saying that this government has not risen to the occasion in tackling these problems. Or you can say the central government here also should have done much more than what it has done. But what precisely you have done? These European, you are the great politicians and this thing, you literally have reduced it to a problem between Christians and Hindus, just because these tribes happen to be Christians and they all are converted. I'm not going into how the Christian missionaries during British Raj days and even till today went and entirely changed the demographic composition by converting these tribes. So that's a different matter. I'm not going into its merits or demerits, but that is a fact and we have to live with it. And the fact is that nearly 100% of these tribes happen to be converted into Christians. And it so happens that Meiteis tribe who, as I pointed out, who live in the valley, they happen to be the Hindus from time immemorial. So the point is there is a problem. We see it as a problem between tribes and non-tribes, and how their conflicting interest can be accommodated or managed. But you are bringing this religion factor by saying the Christians are being massacred there, as if the rapes of only, it's an unfortunate thing what happened appeared in the video, this thing, only churches have been burnt. Have temples not been burnt? So what sort of moral right and the sense of justice that you are talking of, you are so partial. And here the European politicians, you are interfering not as some persons who are friends of India. You are interfering because you happen to be Christians and you are only concerned about the cause of Christianity there. I think that is not acceptable, and you are not labeling these allegations against the Modi government, which they should realize that it is a government which you brand it as Hindu nationalist, but the fact remains the entire Northeast now is under the BJP or the BJP-led alliance. Even Kuki tribes, these MLAs, they happen to be BJP MLAs. So obviously the government, whether at the center or at the state, have never indulged in any religious discrimination. And that is the reason why the entire Northeast now is with the BJP, or rather with Narendra Modi. And I think one more point I would like to say, who talk of this religious thing, you see the things in the religious prism when Modi comes or BJP comes. For instance, the most popular Indian Prime Minister in West Asia, or that means what they call Middle East today is Narendra Modi. I think India's relations with the Muslim majority Middle East has never been as good as before. And you see the things still in Hindu terms and Muslim terms, and you people are talking of Christian terms. So to conclude, I will say that by interfering in these things, by passing these senseless and mindless resolutions, the so-called Christian leaders of Europe are committing the biggest crime against the Christians of India. They are making the Christians of India different and are creating some sort of negative reactions from others. They want the Indian Christians should be targeted by the majority by making this sort of thing. They are the biggest enemies of Christians. They are not friends of Christians. Thank you.